Hey, what's going on? Tonight I bring to you 5 nighttime street photography tips that I've been using to up my nighttime street photography. So some of the best street photos tell a story, and at nighttime it seems that sometimes stories can be amplified. Not too sure if it's the low light or it's the bright lights that are contrasted with the bright lights. It could be the atmosphere that nighttime conveys. There's just quite a lot going on, and it's a good chance for you to tell some stories. So instead of just looking for some light, it's time to embrace what you think and what you see as a possible story. For instance here, the UK Greggs, and just in this window here we have 3 lads sharing some drinks, possibly some food, and it kind of just makes for a nice little story. The darkness outside is contrasted with the lit restaurant, and it just looks like a really cool scene. So luckily I have the 35 with me, which comes through at the 50mm full frame equivalent. So I'm just going to try and frame it up here, and we are going to capture this little story and this little scene. So for this, you can use your grid lines, you can center them. I'm actually using, what I like to do is underexpose, and I'm just going to try a few little shots here. Sorry mate, after you. Thank you. And you can see on the right here someone walking through, and you could use that to convey more story, more motion. But I think for now, that might just be the scene. And, oh, I don't want to get run over. I'm using an aperture of 1.4 at the moment but I might stop that down a little bit. And because I'm being static, I can reduce the shutter speed and just try and keep it steady as possible. And yeah, so that was a good representation of quite an easy nighttime shot that you can capture, is looking for a story. Always be guided by the light. As you can see here, there's some fantastic light here, some nice structures, and some nice little pockets of light here, and yeah, just a really cool little spot. And again, there's a little subject there sitting in the light, which is fantastic. So here is a perfect example of how, again, you can use light and to capture a story, to capture life going on. Inside the bus is illuminated, people going by, and all you really need to do is find an interesting frame, and possibly shoot through both. No, that's too slow. But you could just find interesting people on the bus, and with that you don't need to feel too self-conscious. As the bus is going, no one's really going to get off the bus and tell you to stop taking photos. So when you're out doing street photography at night, use that light source, use the moving subjects. You can use transport. Transport's a really fantastic one, especially buses, and capture some stories. So the next tip that I have for you is to use all of your environment when you're out. Be guided by the city, the town, the place that you're in. You don't need to change anything. You can just follow what's in front of you and use everything to your advantage. The more that you start exploring, the more nooks and crannies that you find, the more alleyways you go down, the more windows you look in, the more lights you're guided by, the more stories you will find. There are textures, surfaces, layers everywhere in the city. So start finding them, start using them, and start composing some badass night photos. Sometimes they don't need to have humans in them. You can find exquisite light and compositions around the city to create the story that you're making. So here we have a little lit source, and we also have these little gates, or this little whatever this railing fence going across here, and you can use these. You can use the fence to create nice little shapes for your frame, and there's plenty here. I've just stumbled across this, and yeah, it's all about kind of moving with the frame, testing out different things. And if you want, I could switch to manual. It's not very great on the Xpro1. I'm not sure that was in focus, but just finding something that fits. Maybe in there. But there's lots you can pick from. You could go back. You could possibly get two people. But yeah, using that light source and also using the environment around you to create frames is really useful. So another tip is shoot raw. It took me a little while to kind of find my own style, and it also took me a little while to then find something that I liked using at night. And the best way to do that is to start shooting and using RAW. If you're not comfortable using RAW and you're more comfortable using JPEGs, then stick with that. But shooting in RAW and using the RAW format for your photos will give you a larger and greater flexibility when it comes to post-processing and really editing your photos. With the Xpro1 and with my nighttime shots, I tend to use a preset that I've created and a style that I've created for myself, which tends to be more green. And that green was inspired by last year's kind of walking around at night, and it just felt right when I was editing my photos. So that is what I tend to lean towards for a color of choice. And when capturing images at nighttime, you might have to start bumping the ISO a little bit more, especially when using the Fujifilm Xpro1. Even though this lens is a 1.4, I still sometimes have to bump the ISO to help the shutter speed so that I can capture a clearer image. And shooting in RAW allows me to go back into Lightroom or something, or a post-processing software, and really start to dial in the settings. Now, I know there are different softwares out there. I predominantly use Lightroom, and with Lightroom it comes with a little hack, and that is the denoise tool. Now, sometimes the denoise tool just makes it look a little bit more clinical, and I don't really like that. But if I was to shoot in JPEG, then the flexibility and the information that's held within the file wouldn't be enough, and the photo might be ruined. So if you're going out at nighttime, just remember to try and shoot in RAW. So the best nighttime street photography tip that I can give you is to start getting weird. Embrace the weirdness and start fulfilling that weird artistic, creative side of yourself. It might have been completely eradicated as an adult growing up, but it's the best piece of advice I could give you. Because at night time, I feel like there are less rules, and those rules can be broken. I feel like at night you can start breaking these rules that you have learned. Everything that you've learned about photography, all the rules, all the guides, start breaking them. Start making your own rules. Start embracing the abstract a little bit more. At night time, cities and towns and different places really start to kind of like reveal themselves. There is a different kind of personality, a different vibe when you go out at night, when that sun sets. And this is what I love about nighttime street photography. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can really start to lean into the weirdness of the night. It's time to start letting a little bit more chaos into your frame. And this can be done simply by turning your camera a little bit. Just changing the angle of the photo might stew up a little bit more chaos, a little bit more weirdness in the photo. You don't need to do it in post. You can try it in real life, in a real life situation. Tilt the camera a little bit. Throw the horizon off. Make it a little bit blurry. Embrace those real kind of like harsh colors, those harsh shadows. And that can move into your storytelling. You can find some weird stories in the night. A lot of weird things happen during the night. Get out and try and find these weird things. I want to conclude this video by saying that at the end of the day, nighttime street photography is a lot more different than nighttime street photography. There are definitely a different set of rules at nighttime that you have to consider, and I just want to point out one of them, and that is the main one for me, and that is staying safe. Usually the streets are quite safe, but if you're out at nighttime, just be a little bit more vigilant if you're out with your camera. Camera gear isn't cheap, and it's important to look after not only your gear and your belongings, but also yourself. Try not to have your headphones in, listen to music while you're out at nighttime, as that completely reduces your situational awareness. And I think that's really important to have, not only in the daytime, but especially at night. But yeah, that's been the video. Remember to stay creative, get framing, and keep on adventuring on the weathered streets.